So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Today we're going to cover the base model iPhone 13 versus the base model iPhone 15 to help you decide, should you buy this? Or maybe you have this and you're considering upgrading to this guy right here in the iPhone 15. Now, keep in mind that the iPhone 13 is actually still available at your local Apple store. So if you do decide to go pick one up, you can still get one for starting at $599. And you can get this even cheaper if you look third party. The iPhone 13 becoming a really good deal considering the 14 has the same chip, similar camera setup. It's a pretty solid option right now in the iPhone 13, but I did a speed test a couple months ago. If you want to go check that out, I'll leave a link down below. And if you're enjoying this content and this channel, it really helps me out if you hit that like button. So go ahead and do that for me right away, and let's get into it. Okay, so one of the first things I want to start with is the colors. Now, I do like the pink on the new 15, but the colors on the iPhone 13, man, they were nice, especially the red, in my opinion. What do you think of the new color options for the iPhone 15 though? I got the green option right here. This is the pink option for the 13. You know, some people are saying that they really enjoy the 15 smoother back, but some people are saying it feels cheap. Some people are saying they enjoy the glossy, nice colors of the deeper color options you had in the iPhone 13. Both do have some, aluminum edges here, so they both kind of feel similar there. But you'll see that the iPhone 15 is definitely a little more rounded. It's a little bit more sharp on the iPhone 13. It just feels smoother here for this phone. Big change on the bottom. You'll see you'll go to USB-C if you decide to go to the 15, which makes it a better long-term decision, I would say. And then you do have the same microphone holes and, same speaker grill, but Lightning port remains there. So if you buy a 13 now, you're getting an older port. You'll see Apple logo much shinier on that back because right here kind of blends in with the back there. So these lighter colors, not very vibrant. They don't really stand out too much, especially the ones that aren't the matte black. I like the matte black, to be quite honest with you. But if you take a look at the camera housings, I think the 15s are a little bit bigger, but the overall design and look is nearly virtually the same. But the iPhone 15 definitely feels like a more light, more comfortable phone to hold than the iPhone 13. So if you're looking for a little bit better ergonomics, you'll like that. Now, taking it off to the left, you'll see they do have the same silent switches and the same volume rockers, but that's about it. There's not much else to say besides the fact that you still get a SIM card tray on the 13, which for some people is a great thing. You have to go eSIM here, at least in the US, on the iPhone 15. Taking it off to the front though, the bezels are nearly the same, maybe a slight reduction on the iPhone 15. You can see the dynamic island there is a new update over the notch, but the dynamic island is still not a very beautiful design. I personally don't really like dynamic island's looks, aesthetic appeal that much at all. You can see down at the bottom, they look about the same too. Bezels do look slightly thinner on the 15, but it's not a big deal of difference. I would say the biggest change here is the way the 15 feels. It just feels better to hold. It's lighter and it just has a more comfortable ergonomics. So for the day-to-day, this kind of digs into the palm a little bit, especially if you're not using a case. But even if you are, the case, it's going to be a little bit sleeker on the iPhone 15. So if you loved your 13, battery's getting old, you just want dynamic island, an upgraded camera, a new phone, new battery, you're going to probably really love your change to the 15. But if you're looking for a discount and a deal right now, the 13 is a really good option still for you. When it comes to the displays, we are looking at Super Retina XDR OLED displays. However, both of them are still rocking 60 hertz, and it's kind of ridiculous that the 15 still has 60 hertz. Like, come on, Apple, let's get it together. 90 hertz, please, on the next one. I mean, Pixel 7a has a smoother display than this, and that phone is far cheaper than both of these. So there's really no excuses. Even the Galaxy A line has a refresh, smooth refresh. There's some phones that are like $300, $200 that have smooth refresh rates. Like, this is just not acceptable. But what is acceptable is how bright these displays get. This one can hit around 800 nits, 1200 nits peak. This is an upgrade if you want brighter display though, because the iPhone 15 does go to 1000 nits. Is it that useful? Yes, in sunlight it actually is, and it's pretty close to the pros of before. Both have 460 to 61 ppi with the 1 PPI advantage over here, which means that the iPhone 15, if you're looking at it from a microscope, has 1 pixel per inch advantage, which no one will ever see in their lifetime. But 19:9 aspect ratios means they have the same exact width. So if you're used to the typing and the screen width of the iPhone 13, coming here will feel right at home. It'll feel like you're coming to just a refined version of the same exact thing. I do have to say, though, it's very easy to see with the dynamic island that it's the newer iPhone. So this is going to start to, I mean, it already looks old. Like the notch looks old at this point, and it's going to even look older as time goes on. So if you're that type of person who wants to have the phone that looks like it's the newest, then clearly the 15 will be better there. But from a pure display standpoint, you're getting essentially the same thing. You do have True Tone Night Shift Dark mode on both of them, which you get with all iPhones. This really an advantage of brightness outdoors is the winner here. I also have to say that the notch right here definitely doesn't bother me as much in video as the dynamic island, because the dynamic island has this extra piece of screen right here that tends to get in the way a little bit of content, a little bit more than the 13. So keep that in mind. It's really up to you if that bothers you or not. But the functionality trade-off is pretty good, because when you are doing timers, getting Uber rides, getting Uber Eats, getting, NFL scores, NBA scores, whatever you're doing, things tend to pop up here. And it can be quite useful if you want to do that, especially when you're, browsing the web, listening to music. You could change the track without leaving the application. So it's a pretty nice usefulness. So you just got to really decide, do you want the usefulness or do you want, an all screen? Well, if you want an all screen, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, or even a punch hole. Maybe Apple will bring that in the future. You're going to have to wait even longer for that too. So when it comes to the software, we are looking at iOS 17.1.1 on both of these. Nothing. There's no difference at all. Like if you're using the 13, there's no way you can tell me you're upgrading for software. The only way you can tell me that is if you're like, no, I'm upgrading because I want to keep updates for a long time. Like, and I mean a long time. I mean like 4+ years more. You don't want to buy a phone for like 4 more years. Then you would go to the 15 because it's going to have longer software support due to the slightly upgraded chip. But I say slightly because this is only the A16. It's the chip that the iPhone 14 should have got upgraded to, but the iPhone 13 still has this chipset. So if you're looking for, it still has the A15 like the 14. So if you're looking for a much longer software support, I don't think it's going to happen for the 15 as much as like a 15 Pro. So maybe a year and a half, 2 years more than the 13. 13 though, still going to last a while because of that 15 Bionic in there. That thing's a beast. 4 GBs of RAM, 6 gigabytes of RAM. Other than that, when you do go into the camera, the experience is a little bit different in software due to the fact that you have the 2x zoom. You can't do the crop in on the main sensor like you can on the other phones, but you can take 24 megapixel shots in here on the 14. So if you go down to the camera department, you scroll down to formats, you take it over here to photo capture, you'll see 24 MP, aka megapixels. That's not available here. Over here, a little bit more of a standard camera. You do have the ultra wide, but here's the big issue with the iPhone 13. You could see 10 times zoom, twice the zoom on the iPhone 15. So that's about it in software, that camera experience. Other than that, you have the same control center. You have the same overall, home screens. You have the same widget support. It's not like before when if you had a newer iPhone, you were getting some extra features. Now you don't really get many extra features, which is good. You want to keep it in sync across the system. But what I'm saying is the only reason you would upgrade in software is if you want more software support for the long term, which you can get here still. But if you want the longest term, then that would be a decent reason to upgrade, I would say. So in the area of performance, go check my speed test. You'll see the 13 did really well against the iPhone 15. It's just iOS is just so efficient, and it really doesn't slow down with updates too much anymore. As a matter of fact, some people said their 13 got better with 17, especially the battery life. So there was a big fiasco back in the day. I think it was with the 6S's maybe. Which phone was it? Let me know. I think I forgot already. But it was one of the phones like slowed down due to an update, but people were really all over that story. But not these days. It's basically a couple milliseconds faster on a day-to-day. So I will say if you're looking for massive performance improvements, you're not going to get them here. You'll get a little bit better gaming here and slightly better thermals maybe in certain areas ever since the 17.03 update, but you're not going to get anything crazy in a jump in performance. So unless the battery is really trashing your performance on the 13, which in that case you could just change the battery, the performance won't be massively different. But again, it's still better. So think of it like little upgrade 14, little upgrade 15, not major upgrade, but a little bit more than the 14. It's still a better phone. So you can maybe justify the $200 because you do have the iPhone 14 Pro chip in here, which is better than the iPhone 14 chip and 13. I personally would say the biggest update to these iPhones is the camera. Like, I would literally probably upgrade alone if like I was in the market to upgrade, just because I get the 2x zoom, I get the 48 megapixel camera and more zoom. I think that's a big upgrade for, casual iPhone users without being a feature that really takes it to a pro level. It just kind of takes it to where the iPhone 10 used to be, the 10s. 10 times and 2x zoom is a really good, those are good links, I think, for the average user. Most people probably won't need more than that. I remember when I had 2x and 10x, I really wasn't craving too much more zoom until Samsung showed me what they had. Then I was like, come on, Apple, let's get some more zoom in here. But I would say that is the biggest upgrade between these two in this comparison, is the camera. In terms of the actual quality, though, the 15, is just like the 14 Pro. So you can potentially get some blur if you don't know what you're doing because of 48 megapixels aperture, but it still shoots at 12 megapixel. The 13 was one of the easiest cameras in the world to use, and you could see why it's still a very popular phone. I think the 13 they just nailed it with a simple to use, really high quality version of the iPhone camera. It definitely was great for the base user. So this is still an upgrade though. So if you're looking for better camera experience, go to the iPhone 15. It's going to be better. Now on the front facing camera, let's go over here to photo. Let's take it over here to photo. We do have like a 12 megapixel on both. I do feel like the post processing is better on the iPhone 15. It gives you a little bit better results just based on how it processes photos after the fact, even on the front facing camera. And you have this portrait mode where you can blur the background automatically, which is an upgrade if you like to take portrait shots. It gives you a little bit more creativity. And so in that respect, the 15 is also better. So yeah, if you want a little bit of an upgrade in camera, it's better. But it's not like massive. It's just a little bit better, just like the other things in this phone. So when it comes to the battery life, the iPhone 13 was a really good performer. However, keep in mind that the iPhone 15 does have a larger battery, which means it should do a little bit better in the day-to-day. It does have a 3349 versus a 3240 over here. I will say, though, that in the actual experience, they both kind of last around the same time. They're both full-day phones, maybe going into the second if you're a light user. Heavier users, they're a full-day phone, both of these. But keep in mind that the iPhone 15 doesn't really charge too much faster. It just has a different port. This is not the fastest USB-C charging out there, and they don't support wireless charging. But what they do support is these emergency SOS features and these satellite features, which can be life-saving. So those are real enhancements to the iPhone 15, even though the battery life on this is not really that much different than the iPhone 13, which is not a bad thing because the 13 was really good, but it's not like it's something like we want to see, like bigger improvements. It's pretty much similar to an already great iPhone 13 battery life. And when it comes to the storage, both of them started at 128 gigs and both of them went up to 512 gig. This is the 512 gig here. This is the 128 gig. You will pay substantially more for a 512 gig option. So do keep that in mind. And the storage is not really that much different in the area of the type. It's NVMe on both. But the iPhone 15 does have 6 gigabytes of RAM. So random onboard memory. Let's go over here to Geekbench. You'll see 5.54. It's rounded. Let's round it to 6, and then 3.55 or 4 gigs. This just means a little bit more RAM storage for the ability to go ahead and just kind of like, get better multitasking with multiple applications open in the background. You're really not going to see that too much even on the 13 because I don't think you're going to hold that many apps at 4 gigs is going to be a problem. But the truth is that longer term, that extra RAM should help out a little bit more longevity, but the iPhone 14 also had 6 gigs of RAM. So it's not like they went to 8 here like they did with the Pros. An area that's kind of hard to measure is audio quality, because some people will, you got to kind of listen for yourself. But I can tell you, based on the listening I've done, the 13 is not only less loud than the iPhone 15, but it's also not as crispy. So if you want a crispier audio experience, the iPhone 15 did provide that. Do keep that in mind. If you're the type of person who doesn't use headphones too much, the iPhone 15 is the move for you. You'll definitely really like this. This is not a something you won't notice. You'll notice it sounds better. It's over a decibel louder, and it sounds better. So that's a really good change if you're into listening music from your phone. So also, the iPhone 13 is only on Bluetooth 5.0. We go over to 5.3 on the iPhone 15. So the AirPods and future AirPods will connect faster. Also having the new USB-C AirPods, which are going to be on sale for Black Friday as well as, the holiday season, they'll now match up with this. So if you have an iPad with USB-C, AirPods Pro with USB-C, and the 15 with USB-C, your cords are going to be a little bit more in sync, which is quite nice. But the connectivity factor is faster here. You do have Wi-Fi 6 on both, so no 6E for the 15. That's pretty much the same. But again, just being a Lightning USB-C 2.0 over here, this is a USB-C 2.0, this is a Lightning 2.0. It's not really that much different in terms of the actual performance, but you can take a USB-C and plug this into a monitor. It has a display out, so you can kind of see your iPhone on a screen with the USB-C. Get back into focus. But that's pretty much the biggest difference. I will say too that the actual reception strength and 5G performance is a little bit better for the 15. That's something people don't really talk about too much, is phone call quality. A little bit louder speaker, a little bit better connectivity, means that the actual phone experience is slightly better as well. So if you notice throughout this comparison, everything is just slightly better, slightly better, slightly better. It's like I keep saying slightly better. That's basically what every single area of this comparison has felt like to me. So resale value, of course, if you buy a 15 now, is not really a good decision, because this phone is not going to net you a lot of money back. That's why I wouldn't probably buy its official. I would probably go third party to buy this, but the iPhone 15, if you buy this now, you can use it a couple years and still get a decent amount back. So that $200 difference you could lose it in the long term with the iPhone 13, because the resale value is not high. So do keep that in mind when deciding between these two. That extra $200 you're going to spend on the 15 could get it back for you if you plan to upgrade in a couple years with the resale. In conclusion, wrapping it up here, this was a fun comparison, but I will tell you that if you want to buy an iPhone 15 now or 13 now, it's definitely worth going for. If you could find it on a really good deal, it's an amazing phone still. There's really nothing wrong with it. The iPhone 15 though, if you want Dynamic Island, you don't want to pay for a 14 Pro. You just want a phone that has most of what the iPhone 14 Pros had, but in a more reasonable price package. This is a really good upgrade for you. From the 13, it's not a major upgrade, but it's definitely one you'll appreciate if you already loved your iPhone 13. If you're looking for bigger, more substantial changes, like maybe a bigger screen size, even better cameras, potentially consider waiting for next year, because I think the 16s are going to have to bring a little bit more heat than they did with the 15. So stay tuned for that. Be subscribed, because we're going to cover those next year as well. I'll catch you all in the next episode. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them down below in the comments. Lots of people, including me and others, will help you out to make that decision. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.